All kinds of hooligans will be on there, Ethel. You give them a channel, they'll take a mile.
Back when it was just 3 stations, you knew what you were getting. Now it's your neighbor in his pajamas.
The arrogance of public officials should be controlled. Now, this week's episode of Slingshot!
The arrogance of public officials should be controlled. What a concept. Good evening. Welcome to Slingshot AI.
The Adams Old Woman Society objects to the content of this program.
Need a cloud but don't feel like waiting on the weather? At Berkshire Cloud Bank in North Adams, we keep the sky on the shelf. Borrow a bit of shade, deposit your leftover thunder, or sip a sunset.
Coming soon to Slingshot, the North Adams Men Haters Club. Relentless, historic, and very much alive. The North Adams Men Haters Club, only on Slingshot.
Hi, this is Doris from Clarksburg. I'm 82, been married 4 times. Learned the hard way. Men just want someone to cook, then complain about the cooking. I'm done with them.
Doris, you're a legend. 4 marriages.
Men Haters Club.
I think it's hilarious.
Men have their bowling leagues.
Let us have this.
Sounds kind of harsh, but if it helps somebody vent, cool.
They meet above my barber shop. All I hear is laughter. Can't hate on.
Hi, North Adams Men Haters Club. You're on the air.
Yeah, hi. You ladies just need to lighten up. I mean, without men around, who's going to open your jars?
Honey, if I can pry open the town budget, I can open a jar.
You're just bitter because you can't get a date. If that's your pitch, I think I'll keep my...
Tonight, I'm supposed to calmly explain why the so-called North Adams Men Haters Club is, quote, harmless fun. Well, no, I'm tired of watching a handful of people make a hobby out of spitting on the rest of us. They meet every Thursday, they hang up their little flyers, and everybody...
From the 9th green at Dewey Municipal, it's the match you've been calling the station about all summer. The Men's Golf League squaring off with the North Adams Men Haters Club.
That's the line, baby. Go on in.
How'd you like that?
And with that birdie, the men...
Good evening. I'm Edna Pickrell of the Adams Old Woman Society, and I have just read about the so-called North Adams Men Haters Club. I am shocked. Their charter is a list of...
North Adams Men Haters Club, you're on the air.
Yeah, this is Rick. You gals are just bitter because no guy wants you. You'd be a lot happier at home cooking a roast instead of sitting here bad-mouthing men.
Tell you what, Rick, if a roast will keep you busy, I'll mail you...
Hey, North Adams Men Haters Club, you're on the air.
Yeah, this is Frank from Hoosac. I gotta tell you, all this men hater stuff is a joke. Women ought to stay in the kitchen, not on TV complaining about us.
Well, Frank, if we ever need a casserole, we'll give you a call. Until then, maybe...
You want to know why you, yes, you, should join the North Adams Men Haters Club? Because apparently replacing a toilet paper roll is a heroic act reserved for the chosen few. Last week, he balanced the new roll on top. Hot cocoa.
Good evening. I'm Carl Deegan, and this is tonight's Viewpoint editorial. The subject, the newly formed North Adams Men Haters Club. They call themselves that. It's not a joke, and frankly, I'm tired of it.
Now it's time for Cooking with Sampa.
Lemon garlic salmon. Heat prep oven to 400. Line a sheet pan with foil or parchment. Season, put salmon on the pan. Sprinkle with salt, pepper, and spread a little butter or olive oil on top. Sauce, mix minced garlic, lemon juice, lemon zest, optional, pinch of dried dill parsley, spoon over salmon. Bake 10-14 minutes until it flakes easily. Thicker pieces take longer. Finish, squeeze extra lemon, rest 2 minutes, serve great with rice or roasted vig.
Slingshot! Slingshot! No king! In Adams! Slingshot! Keep it loud! Keep it moving!
Good evening, I'm Bob Carlin, and tonight here at Northern Berkshire Public Access, we're trying to set a world record. 250 cats in one television studio at the same time. We just counted number 234, and more are still coming in, so stick with us. This is going to be...
Citizens, lend me your ears. Now, the news from the STOA. That's right, the Slow Talkers of America. We speak slowly so you can hear every word.
Hello. Welcome to the news from the STOA, the Slow Talkers of America. We believe in a slower pace of talking, so you have more time to consider what's being said. The 15th of July 2026. Amid rising international tensions and political interventions, a series of disconcerting developments have emerged. German Chancellor Friedrich Merz has urged the MAGA movement, led by U.S. President Donald Trump, to refrain from meddling in European elections through financially backed initiatives under the guise of promoting free speech and religious liberty. Simultaneously, Elon Musk has controversially endorsed Marine Le Pen, a figurehead of France's far-right, ahead of the 2027 presidential elections, framing her as France's last hope in the U.S. Todd Blanche, facing scrutiny in his confirmation hearing as acting Attorney General, has defended his limited engagement with Epstein's victims and controversially granted Trump immunity from IRS audits. Additionally, criticisms rise against renewed talk of implementing an ineffective blockade on Iran, a tactic argued as unjust and counterproductive. Collectively, these events underscore the struggle against undemocratic interventions and the threats posed by far-right influences, emphasizing the need for vigilant resistance to protect democratic integrity and human rights globally. Thank you for tuning in to the news from the STOA, the Slow Talkers of America. Take it slow out there.
You're hitting again! Call 911! Everybody stay behind the line! Move back!
You hear it, don't you? Water chewing its way through the concrete, screaming for the sky to fall in. It knows. It's time for a Dark Adams story.
Since I came to Adams many years ago, I've heard and witnessed a lot of strange things. This is one of those stories. I keep a private archive, nothing dramatic, just dates and small facts, the way you might save weather clippings or pressed leaves. Adams is the sort of place that encourages record keeping. Not because anything happens in the way people mean when they say that, but because the town has a talent for repeating itself in subtle, unacknowledged patterns. The locals will tell you it's the seasons, or the mills settling, or the mountain making its own weather. They say Mount Greylock, like it explains everything. This entry begins on a mild night in late fall, the kind that feels borrowed. I had walked down Park Street after closing up, listening to the town's ordinary noises, a car too loud at the intersection, a dog that barks like it's doing a chore. The old mill buildings sat dark and broad-shouldered, their windows reflecting nothing but the dull glow of street lamps. The Hoosic River, not far off, carried its usual damp smell, mud, leaf rot, cold stone. But that evening the air had a clean, metallic edge, like the inside of a refrigerator. It didn't match the temperature. The clouds were low and motionless, as if the sky had been painted and left to dry. I noticed first that the street lights weren't humming. They always hum, a thin electric insect sound you don't hear until it stops. The silence made my footsteps too distinct. Then a different sound layered over them, soft, regular, and not quite in time. A hush, 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 as if something large were brushing past tall grass. Except Park Street had no grass to speak of. I stopped near the bend where you can see down toward the river, and beyond that the dim shape of the mill chimneys. A faint smell came and went, wet pennies and faintly sweet algae, like a pond in summer, wrong for the month. It made me think of a jar left too long with the lid on. I should say here that I'm not given to panic. I'm the sort of woman who notices when a neighbor changes their curtains and files it away without judgment. So I did what I usually do. I watched. Down at the far end of the street, two people stood under a light that should have cast shadows. They were facing the same direction, toward the river, hands at their sides, unmoving. I couldn't see their faces, only the pale ovals where faces ought to be. For an instant I assumed they were looking at something, an animal, perhaps, or a car in trouble. Yet there was no other motion, no headlights, no arguing, no phone screens. The hush-hush sound continued, steady as breathing. A gust of wind should have stirred the trees. It didn't. The branches stayed arranged as neatly as wire. Even the river smell held still, trapped at a certain height, as if it had been measured. Then the street light nearest me blinked. Not a normal flicker, but a slow dimming and brightening, like an eye trying to focus. When it brightened, the pavement had changed. The dark patches of old repair tar and gravel had aligned into something like a series of loops, too smooth and intentional for years of road work. I stared at the pattern and felt a small, practical disgust, the way you might feel finding mold where it shouldn't be. The two figures down the street moved at last, not walking, more like easing forward, as if drawn by a gentle current. I realized with the calm clarity that comes before understanding that they were not stepping. Their feet remained close together, sliding. I could have called out. I didn't. I could have run. I didn't. I simply turned my head toward the direction they faced and saw, between the mill roofs, a darkness deeper than the clouded sky. It wasn't a shape, not exactly. It was an absence with edges, and the edges felt older than any building in town, older than the names on the maps. The hush-hush sound was coming from there, or perhaps the sound was only my mind trying to translate pressure into something human ears could hold. A thought writhed not in words, but in the way a sense suggests a memory. Adams is porous. As if the town were not a place so much as a thin spot. See, the street light blinked again. The pattern on the road snapped back into random patches. The air resumed its ordinary movement. Somewhere a dog barked, relieved to have work again. When I looked down the street, the two people were gone. There was nothing by the river except the slow, patient noise of water. I wrote it down when I got home, as I always do, and I added a note in the margin: "Ask yourself why the town keeps quiet about certain nights. Maybe it's not very much on its own, but there's been much more over the years. We'll talk more next time."
.com. Elcom way o te I o Grand Prix, I te Adams way pe at layup clay. I'm way
And way I way o valley aring she is the language lay they o yay.
O de te I way or way o te each.
Slingshot, slingshot, and clear. Slingshot, against the fascists. Slingshot, 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 all together now. Slingshot, slingshot, all together.
Citizens, lend me your ears. The hour has arrived, the rumor mill is grinding, and the tongues are ready to wag. It is time for Townie Talk with Eva and Sampa.
Hello, I'm Sampa. Eva and I live in Adams, and we have some strange neighbors. What's happening today, Eve?
Hey Sampa. Oh, just the usual chaos around here. Harold Bissell is probably out there measuring his grass like it's the Olympic trials. And rumor has it, Mildred down the street is trying a new hair color. Let's hope it doesn't end up looking like a traffic cone. What about you?
Oh, you know me, just trying to keep up with the gossip. I heard Harold's been battling weeds like it's a full-time job, and if Mildred's hair turns out bright orange, we might need sunglasses just walking past her house.
Oh, Harold. He's practically running a botanical boot camp over there. I'd swear he thinks those weeds are plotting against him. And Mildred with bright orange hair? Let's hope she goes for a sunset glow rather than neon traffic cone. It'll definitely give the neighborhood a whole new vibe.
Right? If those weeds were organizing, Harold would be the first to spot their uprising. And I can't wait to see how the neighbors react to Mildred's hair. It'll be like a surprise party on the block.
Oh, absolutely. Harold's practically a weed whisperer. I wouldn't be shocked if he starts handing out eviction notices. And Mildred's new hair color? That's basically like she's throwing down the gauntlet. The neighbors will be gossiping like it's the Super Bowl.